state-of-the-art.
All right. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy 666 coming at you with another comic book video. We're not even going to mess around. Let's just get right into it. I told you that I was going to do it, so here it is.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So check it out. When I started going down that rabbit hole, looking up Kang, I quickly became overwhelmed just by the complex history of said conqueror. Now, we all know that Kang's first appearance is in Avengers number 8. This came out in 1964. It's written by Stan Lee and it's penciled by Jack the Man Kirby. Inks were done by Dick Ayers. However, the first time we see Kang is as Nathaniel Richards. And Nathaniel Richards was born in the 30th century of Earth 6311, a reality where humanity never went into the Dark Ages. After centuries of advancement and warfare, peace was brought to the land by the time traveler from Earth 616. And that was he was Nathaniel Richards. Because Richards brought peace to this war-torn future, he became known as the legendary benefactor. And his first appearance was in, it depends on what camp you're in. Some say it was in Fantastic Four 272. Others say it's in 273. But hey, just cover your bases and get them both. Anyway, Nathaniel Richards was born to this reality, and he is said to be the descendant of the benefactor, although other records indicate that he may also be a direct descendant to that Latvian monarch, Doom. As an adult, Nathaniel grew bored of the peaceful world he lived in, and soon he became infatuated with the heroic age of Earth 616. He took a particular interest in the reality's premier heroes of the time, such as the Fantastic Four. Richards began researching his background, learning about his possible biological links to his namesake, as well as Doctor Doom. And through his research, he uncovered the abandoned fortress of the Benefactor. He uncovered in it many weapons and machinery which were unable to be used due to interference from who? The Time Variance Authority. Left to his own devices, however, Nathaniel built his own time machine and decided to travel back in time to ancient Egypt, constructing his time machine to resemble that of the mythical Sphinx. He went back in Earth 616 circa to the year 2960 BC. His ship crashed in the desert and he was blinded and injured. He was found by Baal and his band of the sandstormers who lived in the desert. They recovered him from the ship and nursed him back to health. Once he was back to health, using robots and weaponry from his ship, Nathaniel easily took over the kingdom of Egypt and renamed himself Rama Tut. Now, Rama Tut, his first appearance is in Fantastic Four, number 19. This came out in 1963. This also was written by Stan Lee. It's penciled by Jack Kirby, and Dick Ayers on the inks. Rama Tut, growing old, began to seek a way to achieve immortality. He began studying the realm of limbo and learned that it was a timeless place where he could live forever, and thus learned the mastery of time. Reaching the barrier into limbo, Rama Tut later reinvented himself as Immortus, and he began following this destiny. Now keep in mind, prior to this, Rama Tut, Kang, and Immortus have had run-ins. One such run-in was in that story arc with the Celestial Madonna, and also in the so-called Destiny War. And at the end of time between the Avengers and the Timekeepers. During these battles, the Timekeepers attempted to speed up Kang's destiny to become Immortus in order to eliminate him from the battle. However, instead, what they did was they diverged or split the time stream, and the destinies of both men now existed autonomously from each other. The branching point of this divergence occurred during Rama Tut's travels through the time streams. However, the barrier between the time stream and limbo is not only a point where every moment in time can be seen, but it is also a place where divergences can occur. This is the case with Rama Tut. While one version of Tut went on into limbo to become Immortus, another looked into the time stream and saw Immortus' eventual servitude to the Timekeepers. Furious at the prospect of becoming a slave, Rama Tut found a new fire for conquest and returned to his empire in the 40th century and resumed his Kang identity. Now, in case you were wondering, Immortus' first appearance is in Avengers 10. That came out in 1964. This was written by Stan Lee, and it was penciled by Don Heck. Well, with just this little brief outline of Kang's history, you can see how deep the timeline can run. Also, keep in mind, I just showed a few things, just a few. Thank goodness, because it goes, stuff goes all over the place. But thank goodness Marvel dropped a title for us of the up-and-coming Kang movie, because that gave me a place to focus my research. So let's get into it. And there came a time or a day unlike any other when Earth's mightiest heroes were united against a common threat. On that day, the Avengers were born to fight the foes no single hero could withstand. I miss seeing that on books back in the day, or in the like on the cover or in the splash page. Those were just good times, man. It just gets you hype, gets you ready. Anyway, let me get out of this. So what I've got here, this is Avengers 41, right? This came out in 2001. It's written by Kurt Busiek and is penciled by Alan Davis. So in this, we start off. Let me get back. So we start off with the Scarlet Centurion telling the people of Earth that he comes as an envoy and his lord wants to address their leaders at the UN. Naturally, there's opposition. And of course, the Avengers also have something to say about that, and a battle kicks off. Before I go further, my first thought, of course, was, what is his first appearance? Now, in my opinion, I'm going to say it happened over 3 issues. And those 3 issues are Avengers 38, 39, and 40. So in Avengers 38 and 39, I'm saying those are cameos, because you get just a brief appearance of him in shadow talking to Kang, and then you get another appearance of him working out and also talking to Kang, still kind of in shadow. But I'm going to say his first full appearance happens here in Avengers 40, where he shows up in his suit named the Scarlet Centurion. But for whatever reasons, it seems like the market has kind of gravitated towards this as being his first appearance or the book to get. Maybe because he appears on the cover. I don't know. But this, like I said, it's just my opinion. So for those who are paying, or who were paying close attention, wow, starting already. But for those who were paying close attention on on the earlier slide, this one here, you might have noticed a comment by Iron Man. So if you really want to cover all your bases, you might also want to keep an eye out for this book. It could heat up, could not. As it stands right now, nobody's even talking about it, but you know me, once I start digging, I got to look at everything. So I wanted to show this book. You might want to keep out for the first time we find out about the Scarlet Centurion, and that happens in Avengers King Size Annual or King Size Special number 2. This came out in 1966. It was written by Roy Thomas. It was penciled by Don Heck and Werner Roth. This is the first appearance of Kang as the Scarlet Centurion. After his loss to the Fantastic Four, right, Ramatut attempted to flee back to his native 30th century. His vessel was caught in a time storm, and he was forced to veer into the modern era of the 616 of Earth. Appearing just outside of the orbit of Jupiter, he found Doom floating in space. Impressed by meeting his ancestor, Tut suggested that the two of them could be the same man, but from different eras. Thus, after helping Doom to return back to Earth, and when he left back into the time stream, he reinvented himself as the Scarlet Centurion. So you could really say that the armor that the Scarlet Centurion wears is patterned after Doom. He's kind of paying homage to his supposed ancestor. Anyway, as the however, his time as the Scarlet Centurion proved to be a complete failure. and so he resumed his role as Rama Tut. Attempting to return to his native time, however, there was a time storm which caused him to overshoot his era, and he ended up in the war-torn 40th century. There, Ramatut finally found an era fitting to his desire for battle, and eventually he reinvented himself yet again as Kang the Conqueror. So let's get back to Marcus. Like I said a minute ago, some words were exchanged, and you already know. Let's get ready to rumble, baby. There is some back and forth. There is some back and forth, a little giving and taking before the Avengers finally shut him down. Naturally, the big guy has a problem with that. Enter Kang the Conqueror. Now, check out dude's swag, man. This dialogue, when I read it, cracked me up. My son seems to have overstepped his bounds, Avengers. Forgive him. Nevertheless, he did come as on a peaceful mission as my emissary, and he has been treated abominably. This is unacceptable. Feel me? Oh man, it cracked me up when I read this. Anyway, you know some shit is about to hit the fan, right? But wait, our heroes, they ain't hearing none of that. We don't give a damn about some Kang. Look here, son. We've kicked your ass before, and we'll do it again. Kang responds in kind with, "It's possible, though I doubt it. But this is a matter for the battlefield. This was no attack, and the rules of diplomacy do not permit envoys to be treated discourteously. You have no idea who you are messing with." So the man says, let me give you a little demonstration, right? Damocles base, a lesson, please. Charge main batteries, and fire. Damocles base opens up and fires on the UN building. Totally destroys it. So we're setting the tone early, right? I mean, it's like, okay, all right. So naturally, the Avengers are tripping. They're like, what in the world just happened? The Wasp comes over. She's tripping. She calls him a monster. You killed all those people. My man was like, hold up. Hold up. Hold the phone. I've killed no one. I have no interest in crushing you. This was merely a demonstration to show you that if I need to, I can do it easily. There are more important things to discuss, such as your future and that of the entire planet. I have seen what is in store for you, Avengers, and the world, as you know it, is doomed to destruction. And the only hope you have, the only man who can save you, all of you, stands before you now. Okay, so at this point, keep in mind, I'm laying it out for you guys nice and easy. But when I was searching for information, man, I was going crazy. I was trying to find out what was coming to destroy the earth. I was pulling stuff from everywhere. And I finally came up with the question that would send me spiraling down the rabbit hole. You ready for this? What is the triple evil? Let me tell you, once I got that, man, that obsession set in and nothing else mattered. I have to see what's waiting for me on the other side. Are you ready? Okay, Let's get dialed in.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This can't be. Be what? Be real?
It's going into replication.
Hey, Pop.
Still nothing. Let's go. Let's go.
Tank, we're going to need a signal soon.
We got a fibrillation.
APOC, location.
Targeting almost there.
It's going into arrest.
Lock, I got him.
Now, Tank, now.
And it came to pass that there were three great beings, supreme in their realm, who guarded and shaped that realm and were the sum and the substance of it. And the three were themselves, and the three were the Trion. And countless reaches ago, even as such as they reckoned time, the Trion took action to safeguard their realm. Three acting as one, they created them a sphere of perfect darkness. Now, as I'm going, peep this three as one. Three, the triune. I mean, it just plays out this whole arc, man. Anyway, and into that sphere, they poured all their darkness, all the evil tendencies within them, concentrating it within, entrapping it, imprisoning it forever, imprisoning it all. Or so they thought. All but for one tiny shard, one jagged fragment of dark, concentrated evil. It tore through a rift in reality. It tore through into another realm. And there, in that realm, the shard began a great journey, a long, hungry journey across the vastness of space. And it came to pass that the universe reacted to the presence of this evil that moved or journeyed through it, forming opposition as a body forms defenses against disease. Man, you peep that? Somebody's trying to drop a little bit of, some metaphysics, so we're getting all philosophical and shit, comparing the universe to a body. The universe is alive. It's a being. What? And these fragments of light were three. There it is. Three in number. And they too did journey, traveling through trackless space, awaiting the time they would be found and used against that taint that had invaded their world. And in time, one of these fragments, the second of them, was found by a ship commanded by sentience on a mission of reconnaissance and conquest. And again, it came to pass that in the region known as the Naga Hills, in the nation called India, on a planet known by its inhabitants as Earth, there grew a village, and that village in time birthed three brothers. And one of the brothers grew wise, one grew strong, and the third, the youngest brother, he had charming ways. But there came to this village a sickness that swept through his people like fire through dry grass. And for all their wisdom, all their strength, two of the brothers fell before it, and only the youngest was left. And he wondered why he had been spared, why had the universe saved him? What purpose was he kept alive for? And it came to pass that in a region known as California, in a nation called the United States, there were two more brothers. One was strong and one was weak and sickly, but there was a bond between them, a bond that attracted a young woman of their tribe to both of them. The elder, stronger brother was a warrior chosen to test a swift flying machine, great by the measure of their tribe. But swift and great as the machine was, during the test, the warrior brother encountered another advanced far beyond his experience. The warrior brother was captured and drawn into the larger ship, but he bested his captors and he escaped, flying free once more. But as he soared free of the destruction of the invader craft, he was bathed in light and heat and power, and for the invader craft had held the second fragment of light. And even as he brought his machine to Earth safely, after a fashion, he was being changed, transformed by the light that bathed him. He fought to reach his brother. And even as he was being pulled apart, pulled into two, his brother's bond with him held him together, embracing him, grounding him. And where there were three, there was one. It was the younger brother who walked the earth thereafter, but he could release his brother's spirit, give it form, and for brief periods, in that form, in that era, the 3D man walked. So, you know what's coming. I'm like, the 3D man, yeah, I know what that is. I've seen it. Oh, I know what that is. Gotta pull that. So we've got Marvel Premiere number 35. This came out in 1977. This was written by Roy Thomas and it was penciled by Jim Craig. So getting back to Kang. He lets him know humanity faces a treacherous path indeed. The time to come will be harsh, and your only hope is a man who has seen the myriad futures, who can guide you through their treacherous eddies and byways, guide you from this mankind's birthplace to a glorious place in the stars. So Kang lays out for him, right? He lays out for him different scenarios that humanity may face in this coming future. One such scenario is a Thor, a possible Ragnarok. Another scenario that he talked about was the coming of Cthon. And Cthon unleashing the powers of the Darkhold on the populace. Another could be the sun burning up the oceans on the planet, or mutants, domination, and enslaving humanity. It could even be something such as invaders from space, or it could be as simple as corporations running rampant with greed and power. or reasons that are far more mystifying. It could be any of these or 1,000 more. And mark my words, men of this century, these are not airy projections invented as worst case scenarios. I am a time traveler. Therefore, I know what's coming. Check. He then follows this up with, there is nothing you can do to stop what's coming. Now, during this, I didn't show it, but humanity being humanity, our governments, our military, they're going to resist. So they fire missiles at his base, at Damocles' base. And Kang, he says, I let it happen. I wanted you to see just how futile your attempts would be with your backwards, ancient technology. In comparison to me, you don't stand a chance. He then tells them, I'm not here as your ally. In order to save humanity, I must conquer this world in order to bring about mankind's glorious destiny in the stars. Then Kang states, under his leadership, exactly what's going to go down and how he's going to make this happen. Your so-called heroes, they're going to be the first. They will undergo re-education that will make them more loyal subjects or soldiers. The rest of the world's able-bodied population will be conscripted and assigned to their rightful places, whether it be military service or another function in the new order. And then through genetic scanning, I will isolate the finest of human stock so that only the best will pass on their genes, creating a stronger, tougher, more capable humanity. The earth will have purpose, noble, glorious purpose. As great armaments are built, defenses against the threats to come, colony ships will be sent. Manifest destiny awakened. So let's go a little deeper with this. Kang reveals humanity, rather world governments. Obviously, they will never go for this. With that said, he's letting them know it's already too late. Multiple battles are taking place all over the planet. War is well underway, and my armies have yet to fire a single shot. It's a wrap. How good that you are finally starting to understand. Oh, and by the way, Avengers, those possible future threats, excuse me, that I warned you of, the future starts now. Your first test is in the East. And how will this future come about? They come out of the East, and by the time any credible resistance is mounted, their numbers are too great to withstand. They are living death, radioactive soldiers directed by a single communal mind. They burst with power, and their very touch is poisonous. It converts all to be as them. What resistance the world can offer does not last long. There will be some humans that survive, to be sure, but the air is poisonous, as is the water, and even those who escape capture can do nothing in the end but succumb. And the transformed, they join their brothers, linking, communing minds to mind, becoming no more than a single atom of great lattice that surrounds the world. Their thoughts are cool and submerged, their identities gone. No more do they breed, fight, or strive for anything more than communion. Humanity, at least as we know it, is dead. And that brings me to the next character that I want to take a look at. Enter the Presence, the villain that is creating these radiated zombies. So, the Presence, his first appearance, I'm at the wrong spot. His first appearance is in Defenders number 52 as Sergei Krylov. This is before he becomes a president. This is the first time we find out who he is, kind of like that early origin thing. Anyway, this came out in 1977. It's written by David Kraft and it's penciled by Keith Giffen. So, Russian nuclear physicist Sergei Krylov is the father of twins, Lenia and Nikolai, who were taken from birth by the then Soviet government to be trained as soldiers after their mutant natures began to show. This scientific genius became the most influential behind-the-scenes scientist in the Soviet Union. Krylov sought physical power to match his intellectual and political might by mutating himself into a superhuman radioactive being. And in order to achieve that goal, Sergei forced Dr. Tanya Belenskaya, the scientist and hero known as the Red Guardian, to return to the Soviet Union to help perform the experiment. So Krylov also has selected Belenskaya as the woman he believed most worthy to be his mate once he achieved his goal of transforming himself into a superhuman being. Krylov placed Belenskaya's mind under his mental domination, and through exposure to cobalt radiation and nuclear explosions, Krylov transformed both himself and Belenskaya into a superhuman capable of generating nuclear energy and using it in various ways. So let's take a look at Tanya Belenskaya. So her first appearance is in Defenders number 35. This came out in 1976. It's written by Steve Gerber and it's penciled by Sal Buscema. At a young age, Belenskaya had already become one of the world's greatest and most renowned neurosurgeons. But after her father was exiled to Siberia for public denunciation of Soviet policies, Belenskaya decided to adopt a secret identity in order to help other dissidents and to fight crime. She named herself after the deceased Red Guardian and took a similar costume. She was the third person to use that name. So one other thing that I wanted to point out is in Avengers or in Defenders number 53. This is the first time we see Krylov, where he becomes the Presence. So this is his first appearance as the Presence. And then in Defenders number 54, right? This is where he bathes both him and Belenskaya in radiation. And this is kind of like just dealing with the origin story of how things happened. And in Defenders number 55. This is where we get, I believe, the first cover appearance of the Presence, as well as the end of that story arc. So one last thing that I wanted to touch on before I finish up with this is that Sergei's kids. This might ring a bell. They become later on in life, and I've talked about this book before, I believe. I know I've shown it. Contest of Champions, number 7. This is the first appearance of his daughter as Darkstar. If you guys remember, if you've been following me for a while, it was probably at the beginning of this year or at the end of last year. I picked up that original run of Contest of Champions. And the first appearance of his son, is in Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man number what is that? 109? Yeah, Invincible Iron Man number 109. And he takes on the mantle of Vanguard. All right, so keep in mind, I'm still all over the place. I'm trying to gather and tie information together. The story is finally starting to open up to me a little. And then it happens. I have this light bulb moment. Why don't you read the story and let that be your guide? Because I'm telling you guys, I'm all over the internet trying to find information, piecing this together, piecing that together. I mean, I was struggling. And then it just dawned on me. The entire run of the Kang Dynasty is laid out. So I'm like, why don't you use that as your guide and you just go from there? It was literally just that simple. It's not rocket science. Just read the damn books. So that's what I did, man. I thought the story was great. It has all the elements to create a blockbuster movie, but you never know with Marvel. Anyway, before I get caught up in a rant, let's get back to it. So the Avengers, they're poised to face this new threat by the Presence and his converted zombie warriors. A battle ensues. There are losses. And an Avenger collapses. That Avenger that collapses, that's Hank Pym, and in this story, he's Yellow Jacket. So at this point, you already know. I'm like, let's go back a little bit. And hang on, let me grab my next stack. All right. So I've shown this book a few times in previous haul videos. Let me get out of here. So we've got Ant-Man number 12. This is the first appearance of Darren Cross. He's the third Yellow Jacket. And we have rumors, or at least there was, at least there were rumors a while ago. Darren Cross, he may show back up. I've also shown this book before because it's, we're talking about Marvel here, and there's no telling what they're going to do. They definitely want to have more of a female presence in the MCU. So who knows? This might be a book that you want to keep your eye out for. This is Avengers number 264. This came out in 1986. This is the second appearance of Yellow Jacket. This is the second Yellow Jacket, Rita Damara. I mean, it's a long shot, but you never know, man. You just never know. Like I said, if you can find this out at Dollar Bin or, cover price, they're out there. They're everywhere. You never know. This book could come back around again. Anyway, after I got looking at that, I got to thinking to myself, with this talk of Ant-Man, Darren Cross possibly coming back as Yellow Jacket or some other type of antagonist, why isn't the OG Yellow Jacket first appearance not moving on the secondary market? Why didn't it move back when the last Ant-Man movie came out? And if it did, I don't remember a lot of talk. I mean, I just don't. So that got me thinking. Let me go back, see what's going on. So I had to do it. I had to get it. We've got the Avengers, number 59, the first appearance of Hank Pym as the Yellow Jacket. This came out in 1968. The writer is Roy Thomas. This is penciled by John Buscema. When I was out there looking, there are a lot of really nice looking copies out there all day and for very reasonable prices. Like I said, I'm just out here and I'm speculating. I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that and I'm doing my research. I'm doing my thing. And I just said, man, this is a beautiful book. I definitely need to get this. So, I had to do it. Anyway. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention the Kang Dynasty, they came out and run in Avengers in 2001. It started in 2001. It runs from issue 41 through 55, and there's an annual. Now, speaking of the annual, hang on. So, speaking of the annual, in my opinion, the annual is a key component that brings the Avengers more into close contact with the triune understanding. Now, I know you don't know who that is yet, but we're going to get into it. Let's get out of here. So, the Wasp, she's freaking out. She's trying to figure out. She doesn't know what's going on with him. My man is becoming translucent. He's almost like fading in and fading out, and they're trying to reverse him or rush him back to the medical facility that's on site. But before we go there, and it came to pass that the two who had become three, who had become one, ceased to be active as a hero of his people. And for many years, he was barely glimpsed in the wider world. And in time, the brother began to have dreams, urgent, insistent dreams. And it forced him to go and try and find out where his dreams were leading him, why he was being called. And it came to pass that the younger brother's quest brought him across his world to an area north of the Naga Hills, to the mountains known to men as the Himalayas. And for months, he felt the call. For months, he searched. He knew he was close. He felt it, and he just knew that he couldn't stop, even though he was advanced in age and years. This is a strenuous journey on his old body, but he's like, I have to find out what's calling me. I have to keep going. Winter came, and with it, high winds, fierce blizzards, and still the brothers sought. And in time, he found it, only to be knocked out by the guide that led him there. So back to Hank and Jan. She gets him to the doctor, you know, trying to figure out what's going on. Enter Monica Rambeau. Hang on. Set these books down. Enter Monica Rambeau, right? She makes an appearance in this issue, not as Spectrum, but as Photon. And speaking of Photon, the play moving forward might not be those Avenger books. Avenger #1. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but in that's the first appearance of Spectrum. The play may actually be, and I've shown this before as well, this Avengers Unplugged #5. Time will tell. We'll see. Anyway, we find out. Let me jump back into the slides. We find out that Pym has been holding a fake version of himself captive, and this could hold the key to his present condition. With this revelation, the doctor is stunned, and she reluctantly tells Jan there is nothing she can do. Enter my man Triathlon. So, Triathlon, you know, he steps on the scene and he tells Jan he may be able to help her with that. There's a possibility that he's going through some type of split phenomenon, and maybe he's been divided in two different beings, and neither one is able to survive on its own. Maybe, and he throws this out there, Jonathan Tremont, he might be able to help you. He's the leader of the Triune Understanding, and they are all about healing rifts, body, spirit, heart, and mind. It's a long shot, but maybe. Now, before I go any further, like I said, I've shown this in a previous video, in a previous haul video. Triathlon. His first appearance is in Avengers #8. You know, sometimes you just never know, man. I mean, you're just picking stuff up and something else comes along that gives you another link in the chain. Maybe. Might be something, if you see it out there, you might want to keep your eye on. Time will tell. Anyway, this came out in 1998. It's written by Kurt Busiek. It's penciled by George Perez. Now check it out. Let me get back in the slides. I think it should be ready to go up. Yeah. So we've got Delroy Garrett Jr., Triathlon. He grew up to become a track star, and he competed in the Olympic Games. After he tested positive for steroids, he lost 3 gold medals. In despair, he turned to religion. More specifically, he turned to the Triune Understanding. He turned to Jonathan Tremont. Hope I'm saying that right. Sounds good. But who is Jonathan Tremont? It was the third shard. Now, this is going back. He was the guy that knocked out the weak, sickly brother that forms the 3D man. He was the guy that knocked him out and took the third shard. So check it out. It was the third shard of light. It had called to him in dreams. It had called to him as well. And though he needed the American to locate it, he knew it was meant for him. For he was not 3 in 1. Had he not clung to his brother's spirits, kept them close to him, even since their deaths, were they not with him always? And did he not have purpose? He knew a threat is coming. We must be prepared to face it. We must amass power. And he came to the west to spread his word to his gatherers. And all the time he felt it coming closer, the darkness, the evil. He felt more. He saw it in his dreams. He saw a champion arise, a champion empowered by one of the shards of light, by the first shard. He saw the champion do battle. He saw the champion fall, his mind gone, his body and soul corrupted, drawn into the darkness. One shard alone was not enough. He would need to gather greater power, and his voice was heard, and he drew more followers, and still more. And he grew in influence and used the power of the shard to reach into the spirits of his acolytes, drawing on their energies. He began to change, becoming something outwardly human, but inwardly far, far more. Though even that he knew might prove too little. So, of course, Janet, she's out of options, even though she had some issues with trusting Tremont. If you go, actually, we can go back. There are actually in earlier issues of this Avengers run, they kind of hint at and throw out some ideas that about the triune understanding, about the church, about Jonathan Tremont, just in brief stories, just brief couple of panels here and there, and that's it. So anyway, they fly Hank out to the triune understanding where Tremont is there to greet them. Taking a look at Hank, he immediately knows what has to be done. He's like, yeah, there's a conflict within this man's mind. He's battling it against himself. Then we kind of go inside the psyche of Hank, and we see his self, his other self, manifest as Giant Man. So then Hank Pym as Yellow Jacket goes battles Hank Pym as Goliath, right? Or Giant Man, whichever one. I think it's Goliath. Anyway, they go to battle, but Tremont still's like, there's still something going on. There's still a problem. And there's issues between these two. They've got this envy. The one is like, you as Yellow Jacket, you're smarter than I am. And, you always seem like you're above everybody else. And then Pym is like, but what are you talking about? As Giant Man or Goliath, you've got the confidence and you're strong and you're sure of yourself. But like I said, Tremont, he knows that there's something else going on. So even though I didn't put the slide in, I'm just going to show this. He ends up sending Jane in because he ends up sending the Wasp in because he's still fragmented. Maybe you're the third piece to help him reunite himself. And she goes in and, they both are arguing over her and who deserves to be with her. She knows, she comes to understand. She's like, I don't think the problem lies with me for why you're in conflict. You need to resolve this yourself. And just regular Hank Pym ends up coming out and they end up conversating, and he needs to merge all three of his characters together, all three of his personas, egos together in order to be whole. So check it out. Now that Hank is healed, they're getting ready to leave. They're heading back to the Quinjet. But we got this brief look by Photon. And also, what I didn't clip and show, but I can just give a little bit. Uh, while she's walking the ground, she's approached by two of Tremont's followers, and come to find out that the Avengers have had moles inside his organization gaining intel. They placed Firestar and Justice in there undercover to see what information they could find out and learn about, the triune understanding. So that's what this little look is about. As she's leaving, she sees Justice and Firestar, and they acknowledge each other, and they let her know that they'll keep an eye on their mission and they await further instructions. So, of course, this got me to thinking. There's been a lot of rumors for a long time. People are just anticipating the arrival of Firestar in the MCU. I'm on the same bandwagon, man. I think that she eventually is going to show up as well. There's a lot of talk about what Marvel's going to do, how they're going to introduce the mutants into the MCU. And personally, in my opinion, they've already been doing that. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in this Kang movie that's going to come out, but we don't know what they're going to do, man. Any and everything is possible. There's nothing, everything, there's nothing above board saying what they have to do, what storyline they have to place. This has to be first, then this, then this. Basically, Marvel can do whatever and however they want, whenever they want. So, me, I want to be ahead of the curve. That's just always my thinking on this. So, of course, I had to bring up Firestar's first appearance. Let me get out of this. And this is another book that I've shown before. This is Firestar's first appearance in Marvel continuity. We've got X-Men number 193. This came out in 1985. This is written by Chris Claremont and it's penciled by John Romita Jr. But you know what? If you want to go back further and grab that first appearance in comics, well, you got to get this. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends number 1. You know what that is. Nice. So, her partner in crime, right? Justice. I had no idea who this dude was. His coming out was, I had thought after I had gotten out. So I had to do a little research, and I found that that really ain't the case. His first appearance, right, actually is in Giant Size Defenders number 5. This came out in 1975. It's written by Steve Gerber, Jerry Conway, Roger Slipher, Lin Wynn, and Chris Claremont, and Scott Edelman. Wow. And it was penciled by Don Heck. So check it out. Justice, a.k.a. Vance Astrovic. He was born in... I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Yeah, I am. Socrates, New York. I know I butchered it, but anyway. Vance's latent mutant telekinesis powers were activated when he encountered his future self. Check. So, as that was a major victory of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Major Victory had traveled back in time across realities in an attempt to prevent Vance from becoming an astronaut and ending up in cryogenic suspension for 1,000 years. Instead, the Major accidentally triggered Vance's powers early and created an alternate timeline. Man, this stuff is gonna get messy, man. We'll see. We'll see what Marvel's gonna do. Anyway, as Marvel Boy, Vance attempted to apply for membership to the Avengers. However, he was turned down. They said he was too young and inexperienced to be a member. Night Thrasher, who was hanging around, he had people keeping an eye on who was coming to the mansion, who was being turned away because he was looking to poach heroes, because he wanted to start his own team. When he heard of Vance's attempt, he approached him and offered him a position on the team. Vance met Firestar when Night Thrasher kind of conned her into joining the team. They started out as friends, occasionally spending time together. After some time, the relationship became more serious, and later they would join the Avengers as trainees, which brings us to the current. There's so much going on in this storyline, man. I highly recommend it for a read. But anyway, the Avengers successfully defend the planet. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to the slides. So we've got war raging, right? All across the planet. Kang is, he's putting a smackdown on them. We've got the Avengers successfully defending the planet from attacks by deviant forces, as well as Atlantean forces. Starting to see the connections. Warbird challenges the local deviant leader to a duel for leadership and defeats his champion to become the new leader. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Thor and Firebird stand alone against the army of the irradiated beings controlled by the Presence. Thor takes the battle directly to the Presence and defeats him by using his hammer, Mjolnir, to pull the radiation from the Presence body. Now, before he could kill him, Starlight, she steps in and she begs Thor, don't kill him. Don't kill him. I'm sure he can undo everything that he's did. And he decides to let him live because he definitely, he wants not only the people, the civilians to be brought back, but, Captain America and some of the Avengers as well were affected by that. So don't think that Kang is not very much still in the picture, because keep in mind, everything that is taking place, it has all been just skillfully orchestrated, like a grandmaster moving his pieces on a chessboard. Kang is he's the mastermind behind all of this. Everything that's taking place, he had went through and set all these different things in motion. I mean, I just was surprised as the more I kept reading, just how far his planning went. But let me see. His son Marcus approaches him and he has some questions, and he asks him about his mother. So Kang tells Marcus, look, Marcus, the Pillar of Conquest shows the worlds of my empire shifting through the images unendingly. It is vast, but it will be vaster still with you, my son and heir. For too many years, I struggled against a predetermined fate, against becoming in time that parchment sniffer immortus. I thought only of my present and saw the future as a curse. But now I am free of that foul destiny and have turned my thoughts to the future I shall forge. That destiny I will find. You, Marcus, have proved yourself an able-bodied warrior, a fine commander, and have earned the respect and devotion of the men, my chief lieutenants. You have done well. It is good to have a family, a crown prince. And my mother, noble sir, does that make her the empress? Okay, it's like, get out of here with that. Don't think too much of women, my son. Give them too great a status. They are distracted. They are just distractions and a weakness. Good to serve soldiers or mothers, but little more. I have told you of your birth, how your mother was selected from among princesses, scientists, athletes, the finest breeding stock in all my empire. Each was scanned, tested for genetic purity, for an ideal match with my own DNA. And when that perfect mate was found, she was installed in my private chambers for as long as it took. When you were born, well, when you were conceived, she was sent 25 years into the past to bear you on a secluded planet. I visited you every fortnight to supervise your training and upbringing. It took a month of my time to see you grow from a clumsy youth into a skilled soldier, the superior of all your instructors. It was a pleasure to see your final exercise. And Kang leaves Marcus with one final thought. He's like, look, son, always remember the genes that formed you only gave you potential. It is what a man accomplishes that sets him apart. This these words will become more poignant later on. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So let's look at some other books with characters that you may want to look at that are getting some play in this storyline. The deviants, as I already touched on a little bit, they're kind of sprinkled through this run. We've got Crow. He makes an appearance in a video chat with Scarlet Witch, which makes me think moving forward, we will definitely get more internals in these up and coming plot lines. Thus, I think there'll be a little meat left on the bone for this. Everybody knows what this is. This is that Eternals #1. This came out in 1976. It's written and penciled by Jack Kirby. You know, that movie was so bad. it was not good. I just didn't like anything about it. And because of that, it just prices on this just plummeted. Just the bottom fell out. But maybe Marvel in time they'll be able to redeem this title. Who knows? But anyway, if this is something you're interested in, you can definitely pick this up on the cheap. It has definitely fell back down to more reasonable prices. So anyway, this is just me saying, this might be something that you want to keep your eye on. So let me get back into the slides. Maybe. There we go. So as I'm reading the story, right, Firebird, she's starting to grow on me. She sees Thor just standing alone, staring off into the distance. And, she asked him, what's wrong? He's like, nothing's wrong, Firebird. I just merely need a moment alone to appreciate the changing sky. Now leave me. I wish to be alone. And then she asks him, she says, this has something to do with what happened in Russia, doesn't it? I'm concerned. Everyone is. And I'd like to help. Turned around, woman, I said. She's like, yes. What? You can see the attitude coming out. I was like, let me look into Firebird a little bit. Let me see what's up. So let me step out of this. Firebird, her first appearance. Get out of here. Yeah, this is new for me. Switching back and forth like this with slides and trying to read what's going on and then trying to talk about it. It's different. This has been a lot of work, man. This is a lot. I've got a lot of information that I'm putting out. Um, this is a lot. Anyway, let me get back. Let me get off of this. So, like I said, Firebird, check it out. Her first appearance is in Incredible Hulk number 265. This came out in 1981. It's written by Bill Mantlo and Sal Buscema. It's also penciled by Sal Buscema. So I'm definitely finding my way. I'm working it out. I've got a nice little rhythm going. Let's move to the next thing. Let me get back into the slides. Let me see if this is, yep. So check it out. While Firebird is having this conversation with Thor, the Wasp, Triathlon, and Scarlet Witch, they are welcoming who? Jack of Hearts into the Avengers. They're thanking him for taking on an active role. He kind of stepped in for Stark. Stark is kind of in the lab trying to work things out. But if you guys are paying attention to what's going on, you're listening to social media and everything that's happening, Jack of Heart, his first appearance in comics, it kind of blew up a little bit because there was a possible sighting of him in an episode of an up and coming episode of She-Hulk. People think that it could be Jack of Hearts, but long before that, when I was digging and doing my research, I was looking at Jack of Hearts for this story run. And anyway, his first appearance in comics. Let me get out of here. Let me grab my next stack. So his first appearance in comics actually comes in Incredible Hulk number 213. And like I said, this book caught a little bit of heat. It even made I'm losing my headphones. It even made trending top 10 lists. But like I said, I was already looking at this. Anyway, this is the Incredible Hulk number 213. This came out in 1977. It's written by Lin Wen. It's penciled by Sal Buscema. Now, Jack of Heart, he was the son of Philip Hart, a brilliant scientist who developed a revolutionary and extremely efficient liquid fuel called zero fluid. And a humanoid alien woman of the Contraxian race was one of many scientists who was dispatched to try and discover an energy source to resuscitate their dwindling nuclear process of their sun. Learning of Hart's experiment, the alien assumed a human form to keep him under surveillance. Now, the significance of this is that Hart and this alien eventually married, and she produced a son. That son is Jack. She unfortunately died in a car accident when the boy was young, and Jack grew up without knowing of his mother's origins. When he was a teenager, Philip Hart perfected his zero fluid and decided to donate the fuel to all the free countries of the world. Hart at this time was then contacted by agents of a criminal corporation who wanted to market zero fluid. Refusing to deal with them, he was murdered. He was murdered in front of his son. Managing to escape, Jack took refuge in his father's basement laboratory, and corporation agents broke in minutes later, and their laser cannon sheared through the laboratory door, striking the vat of zero fluid. Doused by the powerful corrosive fluid, Hart underwent a mutagenic change and he began to glow. With an uncontrollable burst of energy generated by his entire body, he killed his father's murderers. Vowing vengeance on the entire corporation, he fashioned himself a costume, plundering his father's collection of armament. The armor, the armor The armor somehow interacted with the final stage of the mutation and provided a moderator that contained and controlled the release of his body's energy. Now, definitely do your research, but I'm thinking if his first appearance came in 213, I'm thinking Jack of Hearts' first appearance in comics or in Marvel continuity is issue 214. I don't know why I got two up here, but I got two. Anyway, this could be his, like I said, this could be the first cover appearance in Marvel continuity. But while you're looking at this, you might also want to look at his first solo story. And that happens in Marvel Premiere number 44. But that's good. He also, his first solo series, people have been talking about that. That might be something that you want to look into. But if you really want to get funky with it, if you really want to go and do something, you might want to get his first appearance in comic form. And that came about in The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, number 22. This came out in 1996. It's written and drawn by Chris Claremont. Nope, it's written by Chris Claremont. I don't know who this other guy is I got down. I messed that up. But anyway, it's written by Chris Claremont and it's penciled by Rudy Nubris. Dope cover art by Ken Barr. Side note, right? We got Jack battling the White Tiger. I don't know. Possible things to come with Shang-Chi in the future. White Tiger. I think his White Tiger's first appearance, I believe, is what is it? Issue. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyway, it's also in this Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. I want to say like 2018 or 20 or 21. Anyway, but for those who know, his first appearance in comic form, of course, is in Peter Parker's Spectacular number 9. Just a nice little side note. Just a little side note, right? Anyway, there was something else that I wanted. Oh, yeah. Let me go back to the slides, right? So, like I said, we get his first appearance in Deadly Hands of Kung Fu number 22. And here he is in black and white, pencil form. Nice. But something else that I found interesting that's in this book, we also get another first appearance of a different Firebird. I just thought that was a little interesting side note as well. She has this whole little origin story arc, and she's got this thing going on with Daniel Rand in the book. But anyway, let's get back to it. Let me load my next set of slides. So the Avengers, they've been called to the Pentagon to discuss the Kang situation. They're giving a rundown to the general. He's letting them know where they stand. The general is also letting them know, look, if you guys can't get this Kang situation under control, we have a contingency plan. Sentinels. He wants to send sentinels against Kang, right? So while they're having this discussion, Captain America's like, General, with all due respect, this is a bad idea. In a previous storyline, he's like, the first time you guys activated these sentinels, they turned on their creator. The second time, they did it again. More recently, they devastated Manhattan. They're too risky. It's just a bad idea. And the military, being the military, look, I'm not unsympathetic with you, Captain, but understand, there's a risk, but we feel it's a risk we got to take. Powerful people with powerful toys, they want to play too. He's like, but look, you guys have a window of opportunity here. The first flight of the Sentinels won't be ready for another 96 hours. So if the Avengers can deal with Kang before that, it's all you, bro. It's all you, dog. Handle that before we have to. So during this meeting, all of a sudden there's like earthquakes going on. They're like, what is going on now? Like we ain't got enough to deal with. So these structures start rising through the ground, rising up from the ocean. Thor's like, oh's blood, what is happening? One of the military men come rushing in. They're like, sir, we've got these structures. They're rising all across the city. We have no idea where they come from. There was no warning whatsoever. We're getting more reports every minute. Could this be Kang? And then it comes across the screen. Hardly, my dear. Quite the opposite. In fact, my apologies for the unorthodox intrusion, but I wanted to get your minds at ease as soon as possible. It is I who have the fortitude, who will repel this aggressor from our fair planet. And who pops up? The master of the world. I'm like, no, okay, this dude looks familiar. So I had to go do a little digging. The first place we see the master of the world is in Alpha Flight, issue number 2. And this came out in 1983. It's written and penciled by John Byrne. His origin story, man, is pretty dope. Let me grab some of this stuff and move it out the way. Jump back into the slides. Like I said, his origin story is pretty dope, right? So check it out. You find out that 40,000 years ago, he was an ignorant human, like you, caring for nothing but his own wants and needs. Cast out by his tribe, he was drawn north, ever north, by a call he could neither understand nor resist. Finally, he reached the source of that call. He approached it, and what he found was a crashed starship, and it reached out and it drew him in. What followed was sheer agony. As he was captured by the ship, he was analyzed, studied, dissected. All that remained of the man was his brain. But that brain, preserved by the ship, connected to its systems, Eventually, his brain, his will, asserted itself and took control. He recreated a body for himself, a genetically perfect body. And now, with this helmet, he's able to control this ship. The ship has become a vast complex that stretches below the ice, reaching out in an intricate web throughout the world. So moving forward, right, the Avengers, they just fighting through this whole arc, right? The Avengers enter the battle to fight Kang's forces. The Master of the World also makes his move, right? He begins kidnapping government officials from across the continent, which will be part of his plan for ruling the world. So he goes on with, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, in the interest of repelling Kang, I have instructions for you. Among you, your representatives, the chief executives of major local governments across the continent. I am circumventing your now useless federal branches, but I do need to maintain order, to maintain some table of organization, to keep the machineries of society running smoothly. And that means you. But while Kang's assault will aid in the effort, it does me little good if Kang actually wins the war. And so I've had to step forward and take a more active hand. I've taken the liberty of defending my property, defending the planet, or at least part of it. Let Kang strike with all his might. He will not gain a foothold on North American soil. But for the rest, I'm content to let his war rage. I will guide it, choreograph it. I will allow it to kill millions, if not billions, of excess humanity, much as the ice age of my birth era performed a cleansing of its own. Then and only then shall I turn my might to Kang and crush him utterly. The results will be a better world, a scarred world, perhaps, needing centuries to recover. But what of it? I'm immortal. I don't care. I got but time. And of course, they're like, you're a lunatic. Are you insane? You are out of your mind. Dude, ain't nobody gonna follow you. Come on now. So moving forward, the Avengers now are split into just multiple. They're split into multiple fronts to battle Kang's forces. One group is going to mount an attack against Damocles' base, and the other group is looking to attack Master of the World at his stronghold. So let's start there first. Like I said, split into multiple fronts, the Avengers look to make a move. Both of these moves, later on, as you will see, they have big ramifications moving forward. So moving forward, we have Warbird and her group. They're now at the Master of the World's stronghold, and they're only like half a mile in, and there's this noise coming across all these monitors. He's like, did you really think you could hide from me, Avengers, in my own base? Seriously? Well, I've arranged a welcome party just for you. So naturally, a battle ensues. They end up battling these weird genetic monstrosities that Master of the World sends at them. And he's like, you know what? You guys are very resourceful. Warbird, you've managed to stymie my Plodex wolves, his genetic monstrosities. But let me tell you something. My base is vast, woman. It extends in branches and nodules under all the northern hemisphere. Do you think that the small part you and your fellows occupy now matters to me? Do you think it can't be sacrificed? And without a moment's hesitation, he shows them, I don't care about it. You're out. So at this point, we've now jumped to issue 47. Oh, but check it. Before I leave, before I put this away, this Alpha Flight number 2, you already know what I'm thinking, right? You already know what I'm thinking. We'll see. Anyway, like I said, we want to jump in. We're now at issue 47, and in this issue, we get a flashback of when Marcus and Warbird, an alternate version of Marcus, they had this whole other life together, right? In Limbo, they had this thing. And you find out early on that there's this connection. You know, Marcus, when he first comes down, he makes a move on her, and Warbird realizes that this is Marcus Kang. And like I said, you should read the story. It's good. Anyway, let me get back into the slides. So like I said, they had this whole other life in Limbo. They were lovers, you know, they go through and they show this whole life. She's pregnant and they get married and just this whole little flashback thing, right? But of course, it ends in tragedy. Marcus ends up dying and she's left destroyed, right? So now we move ahead. And of course, as she's regaining consciousness, who shows up? The Scarlet Centurion. So of course she's got some words. What are you doing here? He said, look, I came here to help. I'm here for you. I couldn't help myself. That strength, that beauty, that magnificent inner fire. Girl, you got my nose wide open. You know, Marcus then snuck down to Earth because he's worried about Carol Danvers, Warbird. He said, I came to help. At first, he's like, I don't need your help. He's like, look, I just want to make sure that you're going to be all right, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. If you have to, whatever your mission is, I'm just going to make sure that you do what you need to do. So they ended up battling back into the master of the world's stronghold. Marcus, you know, he plays the valiant knight to come to her aid, gets knocked out. So now she's got to step up. She does what she does. You know, they have this whole little moment between them. He ends up helping her get back to where she needs to be. And she's having this moment. I should put him in custody. You know, I should lock him up. I shouldn't let him go. But there's just something that she can't let go of. Anyway, she meets back up with her group. And they storm the master of the worlds where he's holed up. And of course, another battle takes place. And he's like, your team fights well. So you're here to rescue the bureaucrats? Freeing the men and women you've kidnapped is our secondary goal, yes, but only our secondary. The primary goal is stopping you. He's like, look, you've broken through my guard. and it seems you're getting tired. I should warn you that I have genetically engineered myself to be the perfect man, with reflexes and stamina far beyond human levels. And since you were bound by the Avengers' policy against lethal force, and I am not, I feel I should offer you a chance to surrender honorably. She's like, you're making a mistake, Master. You're expecting us to act nice, play nice, be nice superheroes, to treat you like a bank robber or your average megalomaniac lunatic? She's like, this is the world's at war. Big shot, we're at war. And that means the rules have changed. I was like, damn, what? I'm like, all right. At first, I wasn't going to look into Carol Danvers. This character is Warbird. I was like, Marvel, she's not going to be around. They're getting rid of her. What's her name? Just too many problems, man. Just too many issues with her. I was like, she's got to go. But I saw this and I was like, well, let me do a little bit of investigating and see what's going on. And of course, let me get out of this. Carol Danvers, her first appearance as Warbird happens in the Avengers #4. This came out in 1998. It's written by Kurt Fusick. It's penciled by George Perez. This is also the first appearance of Dwayne Freeman, who is a government liaison to the Avengers. I'm like, well, since I'm digging now, let me take a look at Silver Claw. Let me see what's going on with her. And her first appearance is also in Avengers #8, just like Triathlon. Her name, Maria Guadalupe Santiago. She was born near the village of Kamakiri in the Central American nation of Costa Verde. The Kamakiri were a simple people whose ancestors worshipped the ancient gods until the arrival of the Spaniards. The Spanish missionaries colonized their people, and this included the conversion of the Kamakiri and led to an abandonment of the ancient beliefs in gods. Legends say that the Kamakiri gods left for the heavens, all except for one. Pilali, the volcano goddess, vowed to stay among her chosen people and to provide them with her protection. Silverclaw's father, Jaime Santiago, was a Kamakiri villager who studied the ancient beliefs and pantheon. He traveled into the mountains where Pilali was said to dwell and returned with stories of encountering the volcano goddess. Santiago was ridiculed and denounced by the church for his reports of the volcano goddess. But despite being mocked, he continued to visit her mountain. Months passed and Santiago returned with an infant he claimed was his daughter and the daughter of Pilali. The child was given a Christian name and baptized. During the baptism, little Lupe's ability to transform into weird forms manifested. And due to her bizarre and often uncontrollable ability to transform, she was the target of constant teasing, bullying, ridicule, however you want to go into it. But like I said, after seeing what went down with Warbird, I had to get into that. I had to take a look at that and see what was up. That's pretty dope image, right? But I wanted to go back. That was just crazy, right? Crazy. The Avengers, the rest of them are looking like, what? What did you do? So moving forward, It appeared at the fringe of the solar system. Without warning of fanfare, how long or how far it had traveled is utterly unknown. It glides solemnly and majestically through space, dwarfing asteroids even hundreds of miles thick, neither slowing nor shifting in its passage to acknowledge their existence. Not all that it passes returns the favor, however, as the Avengers Deep Space Monitoring Station notices its arrival. And that's where we get a shot of Quasar. And Quasar is on this deep space outpost with the cat called the Living Lightning. So before I get into Quasar, I don't have any idea who the Living Lightning is. So, of course, I had to jump into that. And the Living Lightning, his first appearance, let me switch out of this, comes in Avengers West Coast number 63. This came out in 1990. It's written by Roy Thomas and Dan Thomas, and it's penciled by Paul Ryan. So Miguel, his father, Carlos, was a member of an extremist group called the Legion of Living Lightning. In a misguided attempt by the Legion to gain control of the Hulk, Carlos was killed. Hoping to salvage his father's name, Miguel broke into the Legion's headquarters to learn more about their work. Jump into the slide. And while exploring, Miguel unwittingly turned on one of the Legion's machines, whereby he was transformed into a being of living energy. Oh, a side note, I kind of found it interesting that Miguel would later refashion himself and change his name simply to Lightning, because I guess throughout the book they probably made a joke, but he was constantly being compared or confused with the supervillain, the Living Laser. And when he made this change, I thought this was kind of interesting. He changed his name, and check it out, Avengers number 675. Now, this should sound familiar. And I know I've shown this video before. I mean, this book before. Well, maybe not this book, but you might not. But you might recognize this book. That's actually a variant. This is the second print, and in this, as the cover says, this is the first appearance of Voyager. So I just thought that was another little interesting side note. Now, what I want to get into next, we're going to get into Quasar. And thinking about this, I put some thought in this. I like the idea of Quasar, right? I do like the idea of seeing Quasar, but with Marvel, we just don't know what cosmic hero they're going to bring to the screen. There have been many characters that have worn the Nega / the quantum bands that it could be Quasar. So, like I said, I'm looking at Quasar, and it would be nice to see him, but you just never know with Marvel, man. So I'm throwing up here, this is his first solo series, and that's all I'm going to show, because you just don't know what direction Marvel's going. I mean, there are so many characters that have worn the Nega / quantum bands that it could be anybody. They could choose to show or bring anybody in that possible role. Like I said, they might go Quasar, or They might choose to bring in the Crusader. His first appearance, of course, is in Fantastic Four 164 and 165. Shoot, they might even decide to go Phyla-Vell. And I've shown her first appearance through 15 and 16 or 16 and 17. They might even want to just bypass that whole little story arc with her as Captain Marvel and just bring Captain Marvel and just bring her out as Phyla-Vell as Martyr. And this is, of course, her first appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy number 12, a book I've shown before as well. But, as I'm thinking about it, Marvel, we don't know. Let me jump back into the slide for a second. They might even decide to bring in Marvel Boy. Who knows? But as I'm thinking about it, why go this route? Why bring in a Marvel Boy, Quasar? Why do any of that when they've already got a hero now that is presently in the MCU? Already with what some people have speculated, some people have theorized, already wearing a Nega/Quantum Band. And who am I talking about? That's already here, already established in the MCU? I'm talking about Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel could take the place of all these characters moving forward in the MCU. We already know she's got ties to a new movie that'll be coming out probably next year, The Marvels. We could possibly get a rewrite of canon, placing her origin story with deeper ties to the Kree Empire. In the comics, there's already a precedent. Miss Marvel number 5, when she gets her suit. In this issue, this is the first time she gets her suit. Storm Ranger. Remember, at the end, if you didn't watch it, at the end of the Disney streaming show, Miss Marvel, she is transported from her room somewhere. And in her place, Captain Marvel appears in her room. So I'm thinking, Kamala is going to be somewhere where Captain Marvel probably was. She could have been in space battling the Kree. Like I said, this is purely hypothetical. But this will be a great opportunity, in my opinion, to create a storyline where Kamala ends up receiving the Storm Ranger suit at the end of the Marvels movie. Oh, and on a little fun side note, what does this cover remind you of? Anyone? Obviously, it's a homage of Marvel's superheroes Secret Wars number 8, right? Or is it? Let me move these. Let me set this book up. So would you say that Miss Marvel number 5, the magnificent Miss Marvel number 5, is an homage to Secret Wars number 8? Seems pretty obvious, right? But is it? I'm not so sure about that. I'm thinking Secret Wars is actually an homage to another cover. And that Miss Marvel number 5 is actually to an homage to that cover as well. And it's not Secret Wars number 8. I'm thinking that Secret Wars #8 is actually an homage to another cover. And to the viewing audience, I submit, check it out. Captain Marvel #17. I'm thinking that Secret Wars is actually homaging this. I've never heard anybody say this. I've never heard anybody talk about this. What do you guys think? All this time, we've all been thinking that all these homage covers have been of Secret Wars #8. But what if #8 is actually homaging Captain Marvel #17? I don't know. But I'm thinking that that's what Miss Marvel is actually homaging. It's homaging Captain Marvel #17. Anyway, this came out in 1969. It's written by Roy Thomas and it's penciled by Gil Kane. So check it. Trapped in the negative zone, Marvel is told by the Supreme Intelligence that he is trapped in this realm due to his blind quest for revenge against Jan Rog. Jump into the slide right quick. However, the intelligence offers Marvel a potential way to free himself, and it directs his mind towards Earth and to the plight of young Rick Jones, whose partner, Captain America, had just rejected him. He follows Rick Jones as he returns to Avengers Mansion one last time. Angry and upset, he collects his things to hit and starts hitting the road. When Jones gets close to an ancient abandoned Kree base, which contains negabands, Marvel conjures up an image of Captain America to lure Jones to the bands. There, Marvel contacts Jones and explains his plight and that the bands would allow them to exchange places temporarily. Given the opportunity to become a superhero, Jones accepts and puts on the negabands. Striking them together above his head causes him and Marvel to exchange places. Hopefully, through this long-winded explanation, you were able to see the parallel and the possibilities. Keep in mind, all I'm doing is I am simply showing a path. It's up to you to imagine what is along the way. Again, shit. It's just we don't know what direction the MCU is going. It's just fun to speculate. It's fun when you start putting all these pieces together and you start finding this and you start finding that. It's just very interesting to see what direction you get led in. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. Oh, one more thing. One more side note on this Miss Marvel being a cover homage. Miss Marvel #5 being a cover homage to Captain Marvel 17. I had to give one more example to add a little bit more weight to my theory. Now, keep in mind, this is a reach, but take some time to study both covers. And you might see some interesting parallels. So I present to my viewing audience Captain Marvel 16 and Miss Marvel. Let me grab it. Miss Marvel #1, the fried pie variant. like I said, if you take a little time, I mean, I know we got a lot going on here, but kind of look at what's going on. I don't know. Like I said, it's a stretch. But, you know, when you start to connect the dots, you start seeing connections everywhere. Anyway, moving on. I've wasted enough time with this. But you gotta admit, that Secret Wars 8 and that 17, that's pretty dope. We'll see if we can't get some conversation going in the community. We'll see. So let's get back on these slides, man. Man, like I said, I have a lot to show. This is a lot of information. And for those of you still hanging, I applaud you. I really do, because this is a lot. It's taken me a lot of time to put this together, and it's taken a lot of time to present it. Man, but we're getting there. Okay. So keep in mind, we've got Thor and Firebird. They're still battling Kang's forces on the ground. Also, the Vision and Triathlon. They are at the Triune Understanding compound having a conversation with Jonathan Tremont about taking his ship, which will be physically powered by his followers' mental energies, into space to confront the triple evil that is days away from Earth. Tremont's like, look, Vision, I understand your trepidations about making this move. You're concerned about my peoples. I get it. But you need to understand, man, this threat is real. The triple evil is within days. We have to stop it. We have to. He's like, look, I've hidden nothing from you guys. Why, we even knew the Avengers had sent spies to infiltrate our ranks and did nothing to prevent it. In fact, Justice, Firestar, please come join us. All help will be appreciated. I mean, wow, there's just so much that's been going on. You know, I just can't make this stuff up, man. There's just so much. And all this is taking place in issue 48. I mean, just a lot was unpacked in just this one issue alone. But coming back around, another Avengers group is about to make a move on Kang's base, Damocles. And just as they're about to embark on that mission, a image or a what's the word I'm looking for? A transmission comes up, and Kang is like, this is an automatic notice. My base's exterior shields have been tampered with, and my phasio telemetry traces the culprits to this location. Be warned, as I have stated before, that any attack on my base or my persons will be seen as an attempt to circumvent the field of battle. Repercussions will be swift and thorough. Hologram. That's the word I was looking for. A hologram appears. Look at that look on Captain America's face. It's like, man, this dude is off the chain. We can't get nothing past him. So moving forward, you know, Jack Harris, he's like, Cap. But he said, you know, he's not bluffing, right? And Cap's like, I know, Jack, but the whole world's counting on us. We got the crazy military ready to enlist sentinels. Man, we got to put a stop to this because this is getting out of hand. So we have to fight. We have to win. There are no options. No other options. This has to be done. And so they fly into space and they begin to attack Damocles' base. Kang comes to his son. He's like, Marcus, how goes the battle? The battle goes well, father. The attackers are hopeless. Nothing the automatic defense modules can't handle. I see. You've been monitoring the situation, of course. He's like, of course, father. What else would I be doing? I do not doubt you, my son. I merely inquire. Because as versatile as they are, automatic modules cannot anticipate everything. For example, those hopeless attacks seem to have introduced a new series of subharmonic variable flux frequencies to their attack, and it looks as if the Avengers have just broken through our shields. Not the desired result, wouldn't you say? Of course, Father, I should have been more attentive. I should have expected something like this. Look, don't concern yourself over much. After all, it's just a minor lapse. But look at that look on Kang's face. He sends a beam out, immediately paralyzes the Avengers ship, paralyzes them, and monitoring the situation on the planet, the general's like, hey, look, Jan, I'm sorry, Madam Wasp. We gave you guys a chance, but now my hands are tied. We got to do this. Give the order. Zavitz, give the launch order. And here they come. Kane's like, what's up, Avengers? My sensors inform me that there are a flight of Sentinels on their way. I wouldn't have thought you so foolish. Your government, but not you. You have faced me before. You know I am a time traveler and have been active in one way or another in time periods ranging from ancient Egypt to the far future. One of those time periods was the early part of the previous century. I was active in this guise of Victor Timely. Now, that's something you guys might want to go and do a little research on. But Victor Timely, a scientist and businessman, and I had quite an influence over the then dawning industry. Specifically, the industry that I'm talking about, robotics. And just like that, Kang assumes control of the robots. Just foolish, man. He assumes control and he's like, I must also remind you, Avengers, I did say if I or my forces were engaged other than on the field of battle, there would be retribution. And I am a man of my word. You have attacked my command center, thus I will obliterate yours. And he turns to head to Earth. But before he does, he's like, wait a minute. I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah. You won't be needing that. And then with that, Kang heads to Earth. Now check it out. So the final stage has been set. We move into issue 49, and this follows in the footsteps of G.I. Joe number 21, and they made the entire comic a silent issue. It just keeps building and building. And then when I was reading this and I get into 49 and it's a silent issue, there's no words. All I can say, this was perfect. It was perfect because Kang is coming. You've been warned. So I'm going to let the images speak for themselves. So now we go into issue 50. Captain America and crew, they've been picked up by Quasar because keep in mind, Quasar and the Living Lizard, they were out there and they were monitoring what was going on. And they are also greeted by Jonathan Tremont and the other Vengeance crew. And they're picked up and brought aboard their spaceship. And now we go into, like I said, issue 50, the Book of Revelations. It's now time for the truth. And they saw as the shard of darkness journeyed across space. Wherever its path took, it radiated foul, corrupting evil. And wherever its path took, it found resistance, mighty empires, lone planets, all who it had encountered, it fought against, and all were lost. Their best and bravest were enticed into dreams and death. And their bodies corrupted became soldiers in the service of the darkness, and that which had been their ships became armor for the shard, and their planets, their civilizations destroyed. All the fire that once burned within their races became part of the shard's power, and its journey continued, and its power grew, and they saw. You know, that kind of reminds you of Star Trek, right? The Borg. Resistance is futile, prepared to be assimilated. So our heroes are about to go to battle, right? They penetrate the outer surface of the triple evil. They enter the ship. And this is what we go to next. They've all been captured. They've all been placed in like a dream world. They're living out a fantasy like they're in the Matrix by these aliens. They don't even know they're dreaming. But of course, Captain America, he's able to break free because the only thing he's concerned about is getting to Earth and stopping Kang. So that allows him to break free. I don't have time for this. And it breaks everybody else free. And the aliens, you know, they try and calm him down and, you know, they try and get him to go back in under sleep. It's like, this is what's best for you. And when the Avengers aren't having it, the aliens' true forms come to light. The triple evil is upon them. And it came to pass. They fight. They struggle. Tremont under attack, about to be pulled into the ship. He's like, I shall not remain. He calls his brothers. He's like, I need thy strength, thy power. I call on you. Enter Lord Templar and Pagan. So, you know, I immediately had to jump out and go to it. Let me grab this stack. The first appearance of Lord Templar comes in Avengers number 13. This came out in 1999. It's written by Kurt Busiek, penciled by George Perez. And the first full appearance of Pagan is issue 14. Also, well, obviously 1999. What I find cool about this is that these first appearances happened early in the Avengers run. So they were already laying the groundwork. When Pagan and Templar showed up and they were creating issues for the Avengers, nobody knew who they were, where they came from. They were already laying the groundwork. So by the time we get to issue 41, or actually by the time we get to 50, imagine you've been reading this series issue after issue and you have no clue. And it culminates in issue 50, you find out that these are the spirits of his brothers that he keeps in himself, and that he's able to release their spirits so that they can come and fight. Kind of reminds you of someone else. 3D Man. You know, Marvel, they like switching places and pulling heroes in and pulling them out. But issue number 15, by the way, is probably their first cover appearance. You know, I just thought it was pretty dope, man. Like I said, I'm fully invested. You know, I'm thinking about all these different things. It's just some crazy shit, right? Just crazy. Anyway, moving forward, Triathlon, he notices that he sees the first shard. The champion who bore that shard, he can feel his struggle. He can feel his death. This is where he fell. This is where it fell. Reaching for the shard, and it came to pass. The first shard, I feel its power. I feel it resonating with the power of the three. This is what we were meant to do, to bring the shards here, to find them, to unite them. This has always been my purpose, our purpose. The third shard, it must be brought to us and united with them. And keep in mind, Tremont, he's got the third shard. Triathlon is like, I have to have it. And he takes it from him. This power must be wielded by one who has turned from pride, by one who strives for others and not himself. In your hands, it will be corrupted. You would fall to the darkness. You would become corrupted by it. You know, Tremont, he always believed that he was the chosen one. He was going to be the one to unite all three of the shards and save the planet. But ultimately, that responsibility fell on Triathlon. I thought that was kind of interesting. He said, it can't be. I was to be the savior. I can't just go back. I can't just be a human again. And with that, all three aspects of Triathlon, Chuck and Hal, they say, we're with you. Let the core be exposed. Come forth, heart of darkness. Come forth and do battle. And it came to pass that the shards were united, and their powder wielded by one who did battle, not for himself, but his world, for all worlds that were threatened by the darkness. And the darkness swept over him, and the darkness overwhelmed him, stabbing at his mind, seeking to seduce him with promise, with lies. But he knew the hollowness of such promises, knew the paths they led to, and as his flesh was burned and torn by the darkness in its rage, his heart proved unassailable. And when the darkness was fully about him, sunk deep into his body. What does this story sound like to you? This parallels something else. Think about it. You know, this individual was taken up on the mountain and he was tempted. Yeah. Anyway, he blazed forth with the power within him, burning with a pure, clear light, burning with true purpose. And the darkness shrieked and the darkness burned. And in the end, it is done. Wow. All right. So now, like I said, we're moving into the end of it. Just a brief synopsis in issues 51 and 52. Wonder Man is captured by Kang's occupation forces and becomes a prisoner in the detention camp. The Scarlet Witch is also a prisoner there, and they have a chance to discuss the past, their relationships, and they decide that their relationship has been broken for some time, but they've never had a chance to talk about it. through all of this, blah, 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 yada, yada, they devised a plan. They devised this plan so that Wonder Man can escape, leaving Kang and his forces believing that they have killed him. Meanwhile, the Avengers manage to free their captured teammates and regroup in the Master's base of operations. They finally figure out how to use the Master's technology, and they drive Kang and the Scarlet Centurion back to Damocles' base in orbit. As Kang prepares to waylace to several cities, he's attacked by the Tribal's pyramid, which is now under the control of the Triathlon. Kang and Captain America prepare to go head-to-head in outer space, check this, as holographic simulacrums, and they face off against each other in a all-out knuckle battle. It's holograms. I mean, this stuff is a trip. So here we go. We're coming down the home stretch. Like I said, Kang and Captain America, they go at it. Kang is impressed at how quickly Captain America adapts to using the holocron, because apparently it puts an enormous amount of stress on the body, and to be able to adapt. I mean, we're talking this Captain America here. Come on. The rest of the Avengers continue their assault on Damocles' base, and other Avengers are coming and joining the battle, as well as some other unlikely heroes. We've got the Presence and Starlight. They've come to join the battle, as well as Thor, Wonder Man, Iron Man is now back, and Warbird. Kang, let me see, back, nope. So as the base is being assaulted, it messes up their systems, and the holographic battle is brought to a halt. Now, Kang, he's sitting there talking to his son. He's like, the one thing, Marcus, I still don't understand, however, is the use of the so-called Master's technology. I told you before he would not have given up willingly, and they should not have been able to wrest it from him. If I knew how they managed that. And Marcus is like, I'm sure it will prove irrelevant, sire. You will triumph over them anyway. He's like, whatever, enough of this. We are hard-pressed, true, but that is when the true meaning or measure of a man is taken. As long as I have what matters, my strength, my skill, the battle before me, it's all that matters. And we pass with that. Check that look out again. That look on his face. So the last thing the King does, Damocles' base is about to be brought down. Marcus is ready to go fight with him. He's like, negative. I'm ordering you to escape. You have an empire to rule, a throne to grow into. And as for me, as long as I have my strength, my skill, and the battle before me, and the loyalty of my son and heir, I have all a man truly needs. Farewell, Marcus. And he's like, so be it. If this is the end, I welcome it. I do not shrink from it, but I do not surrender to it either. Bring your worst. Kang the Conqueror fights until the end. So Kang, he crashes to the planet. He comes walking out, sword in hand, and you see who's there's to meet him. Well, come then. Come and take me if you can. Kang surrenders to no man, and if he falls, then Kang falls fighting. And of course, Captain America is ready to step up to the call, and the battle is on. Kang is like, I've done all I've set out to do. I've carved a path through the galaxies as the greatest conqueror ever. I ruled like a god. God humbled my enemies, seen even the Avengers surrender to my might, raised a worthy heir. A man like me should not die in his bed, but in battle against my greatest foes. And that honor falls to you. Captain America's like, honor? Are you out of your mind? You've killed millions, devastated the world, and you say it's an honor to defeat you? Yeah, right. What you thought of that? If there was honor to be had in this, any honor at all, it's in me knocking you the hell out. That's where it is. And that there will never be another man like you again. Well struck. You are truly worthy of. It's a wrap. As it began, so it ends. We've got the shadowed figure of Captain America, triumphant, looming over the defeated Kang the Conqueror. There's celebration across the world, major cities. And we end with going into Kang imprisoned. I awakened in a prison, an empty prison deep within a mountain, holding no one but me. They treat me with respect, or at least fear, and I'm content. I have everything. I've built an empire, won great victories, even defeated the Avengers and accepted their surrender. I have a son, an heir whose name will ring across the cosmos. They will kill me. I will be tried and executed by the only foes ever to beat me decisively. I would have preferred to die in battle, but it is nonetheless a good ending. A good ending. A fitting ending. I will go to the gallows as befits a king, and my legend will never be equaled. My name will be immortal, my achievements spoken of till the end of time. My only regret? No, Marcus will do well. He is the best of them, and he will learn to do that. He must make mistakes. He'll become a fit successor, given a bit more time, a bit more tempering, and he will carve a legend too. My time is over. His has begun. It will be a good rest. And with that, wait a minute. It's not over yet. Greetings, Father. Shall we go? Kang's like, what the hell? He's like, I projected a null field around this mountain, and I am here and I'm here extracting you between heartbeats. We used a protonic arc to carve our way into your cell. I apologize for not alerting you, but you were in the null field as well, until I arrived and extended the exception zone around you. Kang's not happy. You should not have come, Marcus. I was content to stay here and allow events to play out. But sire, a wise man once taught me that when conditions are inevitable, they must be endured. A fool delivers himself willingly to in the hands of the enemy, but the door is open, Father, and do we go or not? Only a fool. There, Father, does that not feel better? I have 2 million men waiting up the time stream, ready to strike. We will destroy these upstarts and lay waste to their planet as a lesson and resume our conquest elsewhere. Rigel 14, perhaps? Or Annapolis, the Annapolis system. You should not have rescued me, Marcus. He's like, what? But he's like, I would have died and my life would have been complete, my legend eternal. You could have been whatever you are meant to become. You are not me and do not understand what I value, but you are the best of them. You'd make your own legend. I could never leave you to rot, father, to be slain by these inferiors. I am your dutiful son who loves his father, and I want to battle at your side for years to come. I don't know if I can even do it, but I force myself to smile. And he's like, come with me. I have something to show you. He's like, your private chambers, but you've never allowed me to enter here. No, not until today. You will discover why. This is a crypt, a mausoleum? He's like, yes. And these coffins, Marcus looks down and he noticed that in every coffin, they're all of him. Kang's like, conquering the earth was never my true aim, my son. It was my gift to you, my heir. The finale to my legend, the dawn of yours. As we triumphed over my greatest foes, I thought it would be glorious because you were the best of them. The best of... You were not the first, Marcus, nor even the 10th. But before you, each of the sons I bred proved unsuitable, unable to master the skills they needed, cowardly, sickly. There was always a fault. And then there was you. I thought you were the one, but you betrayed me. You became infatuated with that Avenger Warbird and sought to help her, to prove yourself to her. You saved her life. You helped her infiltrate the so-called master base unseen. You thought it was nothing. It was the key, the one piece that saved the Avengers, gave them ultimate victory. And what I didn't touch on, from the master's base, they were also firing on Damocles, which ultimately helped to bring it down. And still, I would have forgiven you. You had come to me, admitted to your actions. I gave you chance after chance, but you lied. It's like, Father, I didn't mean to. It was an error. That's all. Marcus, what's done is done. All that remains is going forward. I was content to die. Let you go on, become your own man, your own ruler, your own legend. It wouldn't have mattered. Then many a great man began by betraying his father. But now I'm here. And that can never happen. And Kang the Conqueror cannot tolerate a traitor in his own camp. Not if he is to go on. I cannot. You were the best of them, my son. You should never have came back. You should never came back for me. I would have died and gladly avoided this, but I can't. And Kang the Conqueror, he cannot tolerate a traitor in his own camp. You hear a voice, a machine saying the life function of Marcus has been terminated. Shall we initiate Marcus 24? What's done is done. All that remains, what's done is done. All that remains is going forward. Going forward. All you heard Kang say is not yet. Not yet. I am Kang. I had a victory, a glorious end to a legend, a son and heir whose name would ring across the cosmos. Now I have nothing. Nothing. Nothing but time. Man, and with that concludes that run of the Kang Dynasty arc. Man, we unpacked a lot. We really did. If you guys manage to get through this, more power to you. Wow, I can't believe how long this took, but like I said, it's a lot. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it in this fashion. This was my first time putting a slide presentation together. If I ever decide to do this in the future, I'm going to have to get better at just cutting stuff out and just, trying to streamline this stuff. But my first one, I hope you guys really appreciate this and just enjoy um, everything that I did to make this happen. We're talking 6 pages of notes, 185 slides. Man, that was a lot of work. So, okay, let me get out of this. Let's jump to this. So, moving forward, right? Where would I like to see this go next? Let me grab this stack. Grab this. After everything they took us through with Kang, the Conqueror, all the drama, I think it would be pretty dope. I think it would be pretty dope, right, if they decided to do a redemptive arc. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about young Kang finding out that he was going to become a conqueror of universes and wanting to stop that future from happening. And this would be a great place, right? You know the books. You know what I'm showing. They've already started laying the groundwork, right? They've already started laying the groundwork. These characters are here. Other characters are coming. They've already started laying the groundwork. I would love to see them go into the story of the Young Avengers and Kang trying to prevent the future where he becomes a conqueror. And let's get into that story arc of the Young Avengers, man. That would be dope. Dope. I mean, what better way? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go into this story. I'm definitely not. But there is this, I'm telling you, man, from 41 to 55, there was just so much that happened, so much that they can pull from, so many things that they can do. It takes you on a ride, man. A ride from beginning to end. And I hope you were able to. This is why I made this presentation so big, because I wanted to try and capture as much of the story as possible, as well as giving you some books that you might want to look at. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not. But you know me, I like being ahead of the curve. And this is just how I do things. And on my channel, for those that follow me, if you guys think there's something valid to what I'm saying, when you're out and about, you're digging, you're on the hunt, you might remember that I talked about this, and you might say, yeah, I think I'm going to pick that up. But one last note. Like I said, it's just one possibility. There are many different directions that the MCU could go. They've got so much material that they could pull from. Man, they might not pull from any of it. They might go completely out in left field. But you never know. Like I said, the Kang has just such a rich, complex history. Kang of the Peter Porker dimension. But like I said, you just don't know what direction this is going to go. There are other content creators out there that are talking about it, that have done some put some great presentations together about possible other directions that that Marvel could go with the Kang storyline. And they talked about some of these books that I'm showing. So definitely, by all means, Kamala Kang. Kamala Khan. That's Kamala Khan. No, Kamala Kang. Khan Kamala? I don't know. Anyway, like I said, just there's just so much. I'm sure you've seen people pointing these books out, talking about them, showing them. Who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen? The possibilities are endless. Let's just hope that they get it right. What's been going on with these current phases, they haven't been all that great. But I got faith in Marvel that they can pull it together, that they can get on that money. You know, they want to make that money. You know, they need some hits. So we'll have to wait and see. So, let me grab this. So with that, and with this, we're going to bring the arc of the Kang Dynasty. We bring it to a close. We bring it to an end. We end up where we started. And with that, man, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I haven't been able to get a haul video out because I've been, as you can see, this has taken a lot. This has been me just day in and day out trying to put this together. So hopefully in the next couple of days, I've got a lot of books. I got to get a haul video together, and that should be dropping a couple of days after I drop this. So with that, until next time, this is your boy 666. I'm out.